you've been known to actually carry around with you a little
Uh-huh.
suitcase of harmonicas.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, can you talk?
And I think now I have just about all the keys. I think I'm finally at a place where, I can never listen to a song you're playing and say, oh, you're in this key, I'm going to jump in that key. But if you tell me where you're playing, I can find out and sort of play along. I've been messing around with harmonicas for over 10 years at this point, so I can sort of mess around pretty good. I can make some nice noises with it. Put it that way.
What kind of drives a man to want to collect all the keys of harmonicas?
Well, it's probably it's a pretty ego-driven thing, I mean, I love to perform. Like as I was saying, I love, I'm not a singer, but I love to perform. I've always loved to be in front of an audience, and I got into this. I just loved playing with the harmonica to play along with Bob Dylan or Neil Young or some blues stuff, and I just would play along. And then one day I kind of brought it up and was doing some karaoke, and it became a thing when I was living in Los Angeles to bring my harmonicas and do different karaoke songs. I particularly do a lot of Rolling Stones songs. Speak of dramatic things. So like a song like Midnight Rambler, I would have my harmonica to and get to fill in the instrumental, and like all of a sudden you have this real wow factor when you're doing karaoke and you see somebody pull out a harmonica. People are just not expecting it, so you get this, this sort of cheap thrill. And then as I went on, I wanted it to sound more correct, and so I amassed more keys, and then I started playing with people that were actually alive, not just karaoke, and that became a lot of fun, and it's there's a lot of different keys to play in, depending on whether you're playing first position, which is straight bluegrass kind of harp, think like Bob Dylan, think Woody Guthrie kind of, more country when you play like straight in the key. And then there's cross harp, second position, which is what I usually do, which is playing fifth off or something like that. So if the song is in the key of G, then I'm playing a C harmonica. If it's in C, I play an F, to get that sort of second position or the blues rock sound. And that basically is made by doing a lot more of the draw. When you blow a harmonica, you blow out air, you draw in air through the small holes. So a lot of those blues riffs and rock riffs are built on that drawing, that which is second position harmonica playing. And it's the kind of thing where if you sort of have a good ear for music but don't really play music, you can kind of make some cool sounds just by playing with it. And it's very portable, and I never really had the skill or coordination or patience to really take up a piano or guitar as much as I really wish I had.
So you said something interesting there about playing in front of karaoke crowds. First of all, is karaoke? Some people won't do it. I know I've actually done it. I know a lot of my friends have done it. But there's some, I guess, people that create music or make music, and they just won't go up there. What is the allure to that? And then I've seen you actually out here in L.A. play with a band, Costa Nova. I've seen you play at house parties in people's backyards.
Yeah.
You've played at gigs before. So can you talk about the differences of playing the harmonica, since it is your instrument, I would say, when you're not in front of the camera. But can you talk about those differences between playing in a karaoke club or a bar, or playing in a more musical type venue?
It certainly feels like when you're playing with real musicians that you've graduated from something that was just kind of a fun thing to playing with people that take it more seriously, and you want the opportunity to actually make music as opposed to just humming along with a track, which is basically what karaoke is. But the reason karaoke became so big to me was particularly the first time I was living in Los Angeles. I always thought it as performance crack for the out-of-work actor. You have 3 or 4 minutes in front of an audience. What you do at that time is up to you. You can say the words that are on the screen, or you don't have to, which is why I always prefer a karaoke venue that the only person can see the words is the person performing, because maybe you want to go out of time or change a verse. You don't want people looking at the screen and singing along with you. And I looked at that opportunity and I said, it's unexpected that you do something fun and sort of legitimate, as opposed to singing, in a drunken group of people with a real dissonant, horrible choir sound. Like you can do something fun with it. Some people have great voices and they do some great stuff with karaoke. I've always tried to just make little mini performances because, again, that's my just sort of cheap thrills nature, I guess. So when I do karaoke, in some way I'm taking it seriously. Even if I'm doing my Mick Jagger impression, I'm really paying homage to one of my favorite artists, and really trying to give it its proper due. But when you're playing with musicians, you're much more conscious of the collaboration. You certainly don't want to step on anybody's toes. You want to communicate. And there have been some of my favorite moments on stage recently. I've certainly done the karaoke a lot less. The past couple years, I would say. As I've had an outlet, to perform through my job, getting to work on TV was something that I always wanted to do. And so now I'm not that out of work junkie anymore. I have something to sort of focus some of my creative energies, but there's still a lot of things that you want to do, and playing music lets you not be, just this guy on a candy show on Food Network. Lets you remember that you really do just love to perform. So,
do you think
answer?
No, of course. Do you think does more music need to be played at home by people but themselves? Is music some sort of unattainable art?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I was in an improv group in Philadelphia, and we had some guy from Amsterdam come and talk to us about the idea that people don't sing, people don't dance, people don't play music because they think that they're supposed to leave that to the professionals. That's all they need to do. So they don't just make music. And if you look at a lot of other cultures, music is not this thing that's just put up on a pedestal and revered in a theater. It's an expression, and it's a way of communicating. It's a way of celebrating ritual. We've completely lost touch with music being more of a personal form of expression, and it's only this commodity, which, the artists I like, I'm not into all kinds of obscure artists. I like a lot of fairly mainstream people. But I think people have lost touch with the idea that they don't want to do it because they think they're not good enough, or they'll be judged. I know I'm not a singer, but I go up there and try to perform my ass off. I don't think I'm going to be making a career as a singer anytime soon, but that doesn't mean that I don't got to crow like anybody else.
So are there places that you see when you're either acting or you're cooking or you're playing music? Are there some synonymous places you go? The end product is different, the medium is different, but are you drawing on a similar place when you're playing music or when you're acting?
Yeah, there have been a few times, where you get to that unconscious place where you know that what you're doing is good on some level. Where you just hit a moment, and it's so rare. Every time you put something up on stage, or play, or perform, maybe just because I don't do it enough. But it's rare that you find that real sweet moment where it's just the most satisfying, fulfilling, orgasmic kind of feeling that you just hit one of those moments. That's really why anybody that performs probably does it, to hit that real great thing where you captured your audience in some way. You made a connection on some level, and it was unconscious. And I have experienced that a few times, with music, at karaoke and playing on, bands. It could be anything. The venue could be anything. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be the comedy club. It doesn't have to be the arena. But that feeling you get when you really make something happen with an audience, that's certainly the feeling that I get from the artists that I appreciate and love so much. Is constantly, looking to your buddy next to you and be like, wow, did we just witness that wow moment?
So you're playing. Let's talk about gear for a second. What type of harmonicas are you playing on?
I usually play Hohner Special 20s, which have a plastic reed, which is like that little string of holes where you purse your lips and blow through. That's the reed. I have some blues harps, which have a wooden reed, which some people will say has a more deep, resonant, natural kind of sound. And the Special 20s, I think, are easier to play a lot of notes and slide up and down, stopping and blowing and stopping, and, using your tongue to make, rapid repetition, kinds of fun notes. But those are the ones that I like to play, and they hold up pretty good. I used to break them a lot more often than I do now. I'm not.
How would you break them?
Crazy.